Hello and welcome to Wellhouse Leisure. I'm Chris Goffey. You've taken the very wise decision to invest in a Hyundai i800 camper, and you'll be living with it for quite a long time to come. So let's look at some of the more detailed technical specifications of this super vehicle. Inside, it's as well trimmed and appointed as you'd expect for a Wellhouse conversion. Control panel here for your heating, your electrics, sink, hob, cooker, fridge, and a neat little compartment for the loo. As you know, most camper vans have one side sliding door. The advantage of the Hyundai, you've got two. And that gives you unrivaled access to some of the systems, the electrics, the gas, the water, fridge and toilet. We'll be going to each of these in more detail. So let's look at the gas system in the camper. Now, Wellhouse provide a very generous 6 kilogram propane gas bottle. You can choose obviously between propane and butane, but be aware that in very cold temperatures butane doesn't work so well and you can get trouble with your grill and oven. Easy enough to change. You'll notice they provided 2 trap doors. Why would they do that? Well, if you've got the shelf down, you've got easy access to the gas tap. Now, it may sound a bit of a faff to you, but you really should isolate the gas cylinder when you're driving along, because if, God forbid, there was an accident and the vehicle was involved in it and the gas lines were ruptured, then obviously it would be a hazard. So just turn it off when you're driving along. To change the gas bottle, open up, release the safety belt, and don't forget this must always be done up when you're driving because you don't want a loose gas canister rolling around. Disconnect the joint, don't forget left-hand thread, spin it off, pull the valve out, obviously it automatically seals itself, and you may need to rotate the canister so you can easily get it out. When you've had the cylinder refilled, obviously back in the compartment, do up the safety belt. And then reconnect the joint, which they call the pigtail. And bear in mind again, a left-hand thread, up nice and tight, and Bob's your uncle. Now, if you are considering touring in Europe, and let's face it, most people will with such a sophisticated van, bear in mind that the pigtail joint and the gas cylinder won't necessarily match those on offer in Europe. Now, you can get a separate hose and pigtail to screw in that will fit European gas cylinders, but you might consider the optional gas low system, where you can simply refill the gas cylinder automatically from a bumper outlet at any auto gas centre across Britain and Europe. And while we're on the subject of gas, something you'll probably never need to touch, but the regulations demand it, isolating valves for the grill and the oven. But as I say, normally they just stay on. Gas controls inside the van, pretty simple. Gas hob with Piezo ignition. You have to hold the knob down for a few seconds, obviously, until the flame stabilizes, then off you go. And down here, the gas SMEV oven, controls for grill and oven, switch for the light inside the cooker, and automatic lighting. If you want to use it as a grill, simply slide out the plate. There's a little magnet on the top here, and it acts as a grill. The water systems on the Hyundai feature very generous 42-litre fresh and wastewater tanks. Freshwater tank filled here on the passenger side, simply take out the stopper, fill it up from the hose, and when the tank's full, you'll see a dribble from underneath or even a slight spill from this point here. Do it up again, and you're in business. Incidentally, why drive around with 42 litres of fresh water and 42 litres of potentially wastewater when you're not using the van for camping? All it does is increase weight of the van and cost you fuel. So you fill the tanks and now you've got the luxury of hot and cold running water in your camper. But the thing you have to remember is that you cannot park a camper van outside your house in winter and get away with it, because if there's a nighttime frost and the water freezes, you will damage the pump and the connections. So you must drain down the water system if it's going to freeze overnight. It's easy enough to do. You open the barrel valves on the waste and freshwater tanks. You open the main drain valve down here, and with the pump running, turn the taps on until there's not a drop of water coming out of them. Switch the motor off and you're there. The van will be safe overnight, even in the most freezing conditions. Keep an eye on the way the water drains out of your sink. If it runs away very slowly and there's a dribble underneath the van, it means the wastewater tank is full. Simple to do, drive to a drain and open the grey tap on the far side. And talking of water, an extremely useful accessory that comes as standard on the camper is this shower. Simply undo the flap, push it in, twist it round, it's locked, and the water comes out when you operate the press switch on the tap. I find this very useful for cleaning muddy dogs before they get back in the van. Disconnect, pull. There might be a little dribble of water when you do that, so you might want to have a cloth handy. Shut the flap so it doesn't get trapped when you shut the tailgate. Pressurized water system controlled by the switch we showed you earlier. Simple tap operation, hot and cold running water, and that hot and cold also applies to the shower at the back. This switch controls the water pump. When you switch it on, the red light comes on. The red light should go off after a few seconds to show that the system is pressurized. If it doesn't go out, that means either the tap's running or you've run out of water. As you'd expect, the camper has a sophisticated electrical system, including a leisure battery for all your needs on the move. But when you're on the campsite, obviously, you want to plug into mains power. Simple enough to do, release the flap, slide the top of the socket into the shelf at the back here, and it automatically goes in. The power's connected and you're in business. To release, pull down this little blue knob and simply pull it out. Once you're hooked up to the mains, well, you should have no problems and the van should work perfectly. If for any reason it doesn't, well, here is the circuit breaker box. Now, normally you wouldn't need to bother about this at all, but if you don't have power, it could be one of the circuit breakers has tripped. Easy enough to reset, and you should have power. If the circuit breakers are in place and you still haven't got power, then it's the site owner's problem and not yours. Instead of rummaging around the vehicle looking for fuses, they're all here in this neat fuse box, each fuse clearly labelled what it covers. The only exception is the master fuse on the leisure battery. Now, the leisure battery here should last for ages and ages. If you do need to replace it, access is through a panel behind the driver's seat. Moving on to the electrical systems inside the vehicle, your control panels are here, master switch for the electrics, a test button to see how the batteries are doing, controls for the auxiliary heating, which we will come on to later, and individual controls for electrical pump and the lights on either side. 13 amp socket when you're plugged into the mains, 12 volt socket when you're not, and that's repeated down there on the bulkhead. A generous 47-litre fridge with this clever tray that you can fill up in the house with your provisions and simply slot back in again, and obviously the control for the temperature of the fridge just inside there. Now your camper is equipped with a very sophisticated heating system, and when you get to know it, you'll be amazed what it can do for you. In the first place, you've got a control on the dashboard that will allow the heating system in here to warm up the engine coolant on a cold day, so that you're never doing cold starts. You can actually set a timer so that it will switch on automatically well before you need to start the car up. Now, in addition to that, you've got the interior controls. This is the switch that controls the heating, and then you've got the controls up here for fan speed and interior temperature. Now, the heating system not only heats the caravan, but it also heats the hot and cold water system as well. And in fact, once the engine cooling system is hot, it will use that cooling system to heat up your own hot water, so you don't have to be relying on this heater all the time. The actual Webasto burner unit is located under the vehicle floor, and it draws fuel from the main diesel tank. The outlet, fan assisted, is just here. Now, you don't want scalding hot water in your sink tap all the time, so in addition there's a control in here, and you can set the temperature of the hot water from anything between 30 and 42 degrees. As far as driving controls are concerned, well, I don't need to teach my granny to suck eggs. If you can drive a car, you can drive this. And that's the whole point of this conversion, because it's not a panel van, it's a proper car. And as you'd expect for a sophisticated car, it's got all the gear you want. Air conditioning, sophisticated in-car entertainment, all the fingertip controls that you would expect. The only thing on the dashboard I'd point out is the control here for rear heating. Because you've got this immensely sophisticated Webasto system built in, this has been disconnected and you don't need it. Now, the most important part of any camper van is the sleeping accommodation. Let's see how this works. Step one, simply fold down the shelf. Inside the van, make sure the headrests are fully down. Pull the strap and fold this part of the bed down. Grip the backrest, release the locks, pulling this rod. Push it down and bingo, a double bed. To put it back, slide your hands down between the cushions. You'll feel a strap. Pull. Up it goes. Release the catch. The backrest is in position. Fold the seat cushion back, and you're in business. 3 inertia belts, one for each of the 3 rear seat passengers. Just slip your hand through here to retrieve the buckles if you need them. Now, in too many camper vans, in my humble opinion, they haven't paid enough attention to table storage, and it tends to rattle around. Here, they've very cleverly slotted it into a recess in the back of the shelf. And they've even put an anti-rattle elastic strap in. You simply undo the catches, slide it out, and there you are. And to put it in place, simplicity itself. Release the catch on the leg, it locks in place, pop it on the rail and push up the locks, and then you can slide it backwards and forwards to the exact position you want. What could be simpler? But that's not the end of the table story. Simply swivel the seat round, recline it forward, and pull the release. Climb in, and this table will adjust and lock to whichever position you want. Once you've got it where you want it, lock it in place with the knurled knobs. Under the bonnet, everything's as you would expect on a modern car. Radiator cap, engine oil fill, dipstick, washer fluid fill up, brake fluid, and down here power steering, just keep an eye on the level, transparent container. Down here, a neat little compartment for your jack and tools, and if you're on the continent, room for the obligatory warning triangle and high-vis jackets. In the unlikely event of a puncture, you'll be reassured to hear that the car has a full-size spare wheel. I think that's a great advantage over those skimpy Space Sabres. Remove the coin-operated cover, insert the wheel brace so it locks onto the nut, and then simply wind the wheel down on the cradle. Now, you might want to familiarise yourself with this procedure because, believe me, punctures always happen at night and in the rain. So far as optional extras goes, well, how deep's your wallet? You can tailor this vehicle to whatever your specific sporting or social needs, whether it's carrying bikes or kayaks or surfboards. The list of extras includes solar panels, leather upholstery, armrests for the front seats, a remote start for the Webasto heating system, that gas low system we talked about already, roof rails, wind out awnings, tailgate awnings, and freestanding drive-away tent. You can have a roof bed, a full tow bar system. You can even have a security safe fitted inside the vehicle. Diamond bright paint treatment to keep your vehicle looking immaculate for as long as possible, and a variety of bike racks. Let's look in some detail about raising and lowering the remote roof. First of all, release these straps. And then simply push up on the roof on the gas struts. Now, this particular model is fitted with the optional roof bed, and again that slots up on gas struts. Once inside, you've got a variety of windows. Side windows with insect-proof mesh, and at the front here, a clear window. The roof is the reversal of the sequence. Pull the bed down first, if you've got one, because then you won't trap the fabric. Turn round, grab the handles, and simply pull down. When the roof is almost closed, push out the fabric at the corners as far as it will go, and that will ensure that it's not trapping under the roof seals. Lower the roof, and most important, do up these securing straps afterwards, because with a rear hinged roof, you really don't want it flying open.